My fiancé demanded I buy her a $3 million mansion, change my name, and even wanted me to quit my job. When I refused, she humiliated me. So I canceled the wedding and walked out. I'm a 32-year-old guy who's always considered himself to be pretty grounded. I don't mind hard work, and I'm not one to chase flashy things. For me, life's always been about living comfortably and saving wisely. So when I met Emily, I thought I'd found someone special, someone I could actually build a life with. She was beautiful, smart, came from a well-off family, and seemed down to earth. Or at least that's what I thought at first. But over time, little things started showing up. Little things that added up to big red flags. Emily's family? They weren't just wealthy, they were loaded. She came from one of those families where they think their last name is some kind of ticket to get whatever they want. You know the type. For her, everything came easy. She grew up in a world of designer clothes, weekend trips to Europe, and social circles full of people who knew how much a yacht costs. Me. I'm just a software developer with a decent job, a modest apartment, and a sensible car. I'm not out here trying to prove anything. From the start, there were these subtle hints that maybe we didn't see life the same way. The first time I noticed something was a few months in. We were out at this fancy restaurant she liked, and when the bill came, she waved the waiter over. Without a second thought, she asked if they'd be giving her the family discount. Wait, what? I asked, thinking she was joking. She just looked at me like I was clueless. Yeah, our family name carries a lot of weight in this town. They should know who I am. The waiter looked confused, apologized, and said there was no discount for family names, and she looked offended. On the way out, she went on and on about how the place had gone downhill because they didn't show the proper respect to certain people. I just sat there listening, wondering what the hell was going on. But I let it go. Maybe this was just one of those weird rich kid things, I thought. I figured, hey, no one's perfect. But then, over the next year, it was like her family had this unwritten rule that they were above everyone else. And she bought into it completely. Fast forward to when we got engaged. Now, I'd imagined a nice wedding, nothing too extravagant. Something that would let us celebrate with our close family and friends without going overboard. But the second her mother got involved, all bets were off. Suddenly, Emily's mom was all over it, planning an elegant event with luxury venues, designer flowers, a high-end dress, and a guest list that was spiraling out of control. Every time I tried to bring up the budget, Emily brushed me off, saying her mom had it under control and that this was just how weddings are supposed to be. I tried to explain that I didn't feel comfortable with her parents making all the decisions. She laughed it off, saying I was being overly sensitive and should be grateful her family wanted to take charge. It's what we deserve, she'd say, every single time I tried to pull us back to reality. I started to realize that the wedding was turning into her family's show, not ours. And that's not even the half of it. One night, we're at dinner with her parents, and her dad, out of the blue, brings up the idea of me changing my last name to theirs. He talked about how respected their family name was and said it would solidify my place in the family. He actually used the phrase, a show of loyalty and respect for our lineage. I thought he was joking. So I looked over at Emily, waiting for her to laugh it off, but she just sat there, nodding along like this was the most natural thing in the world. When we got home, I told her it wasn't happening. She acted like I was being ridiculous. What's the big deal, she said. It's just a name. Besides, it would look better for us both. I told her I wasn't changing my name for anyone. Period. She rolled her eyes, called me stubborn, and accused me of not wanting to be a real part of her family. That one stung. Here I was, thinking we'd be creating our own family, and she was treating me like I was some add-on to theirs. A couple of weeks later, she hit me with the biggest one yet, buying a house. She shows me this listing, a $3 million mansion with massive windows, a pool, a guest house, you name it. She told me it was perfect and that it would be a great investment for us. I just sat there, staring at her. Emily, I can't afford that. Not even close. She didn't even flinch. Oh, come on, you can just get a loan. It's not a big deal, she said, as if $3 million was pocket change. I told her again and again that this wasn't a practical idea, and that a mansion was far beyond what we could realistically manage. But she just brushed it off. You're not thinking big enough, she said. If you loved me, you'd want to make this happen. It was like I was talking to a brick wall. I tried showing her other, more reasonable options. But every time she'd turn up her nose saying, "I deserve better than that," as if anything less than a palace was beneath her. Then came her latest idea. She thought I should quit my job. According to her, the stress of the wedding, the house hunt, and supporting her lifestyle was all too much for me to juggle. She wanted me to find a more flexible job, something easier, so that I could be around more to help support her dreams. That's when I'd had enough. I told her I loved my job, that it was important to me, and that I wasn't going to change careers just because she wanted to live some fairy tale life. She got pissed, saying I was putting my career over her needs, and that I didn't care about her happiness. We went on like this for weeks, arguing over everything from wedding expenses to house listings to me making sacrifices for her. I felt like I was in some kind of twisted game where she kept moving the finish line every time I got close. And every time I tried to push back, she acted like I was failing her somehow. The final straw came at a dinner with her family. They'd invited me over, saying they wanted to talk about our future together, and I walked in, trying to stay optimistic. But within minutes they'd circled around to the mansion. Her mom started gushing about how perfect it was, how beautiful the neighborhood was, and how we absolutely had to make it happen. Her dad jumped in, telling me how smart it would be to buy the place and how it would set us up for life. They were practically selling it to me like real estate agents. I sat there, feeling like I was on trial. When I looked at Emily, hoping she'd back me up, she just nodded, going along with everything they said. I finally spoke up. "Look, if this mansion is so important, maybe you should just buy it for her." Silence. Her family looked at me like I'd just spit in their faces. Her dad tried to laugh it off, saying, "It's not about us buying it. It's about you building a life with her." Then Emily spoke up, and that's when I knew I was done. She went off about how I wasn't ambitious enough, how her parents had warned her about settling for me, and how she'd been trying to be patient with me. "But you just don't get it," she said, looking right at me. "You're not willing to give me the life I deserve." That was it. I pushed my chair back, looked at her, and said, "If that's what you want, I'm not the guy for you." Then I stood up, left the ring on the table, and walked out. I didn't look back. I thought that would be the end of it. But apparently, when you tell people like that no, they don't take it well. Within days, I started getting messages from her family. Her brother texted me, demanding I return the ring. I told him it was already at their place, and that they could do whatever they wanted with it. Then her friends started posting on social media, calling me a heartbreaker and a user, implying that I'd only been after her family's money. She even showed up at my office one day, causing a scene in the lobby, demanding to see me. She yelled about how I'd used her, how I was selfish for not making sacrifices, and even told my co-workers that she'd given up everything for me. Security had to escort her out. I was embarrassed as hell, but at that point I was done caring. And if that wasn't enough, they tried to hit me where it hurt. A month after the breakup, I got a formal letter from her family's lawyer. They were billing me for wedding expenses. Everything from the dress and flowers to the deposits on the venue. Tens of thousands of dollars that they thought I somehow owed them for wasting their time. Apparently, since I was the one who called it off, they figured I should be responsible for the costs. I didn't even hesitate to call my lawyer. He laughed when I told him about it and said they had no legal grounds to demand anything from me. It was a ridiculous stunt, a petty way to get back at me because I dared to walk away. We sent them a formal response, shutting it down, and I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. But these people weren't just upset. They were hell-bent on punishing me. Emily took to social media, playing the heartbroken victim. She posted vague stories about betrayal, about how she'd sacrificed so much for someone who couldn't even buy her a home. Her friends rallied around her, calling me a leech and a coward, and some even messaged me directly, telling me I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. It was a full-on smear campaign. One night, I was out with some friends, trying to unwind, when one of them showed me a post where Emily had tagged me, calling me out by name, accusing me of taking advantage of her family's generosity. She made it sound like I'd bled them dry, like I was some gold digger who'd conned her family. People were sharing it, commenting about how disgusting I was, saying things like, "She deserves a real man." It was unreal. I decided right then that I wasn't going to play along. I wasn't going to respond, wasn't going to defend myself online. The people who mattered, The ones who actually knew me, they'd understand the truth. But I hated that she was out there twisting the story, making me the villain just because I wouldn't jump through her hoops. Then, just when I thought I'd seen it all, her dad tried to mess with my living situation. My landlord called, saying he'd gotten a message from a man claiming to be my future father-in-law, asking if my lease could be terminated early because the family had new plans for me. My landlord, thankfully, was a no-nonsense guy. He let me know he'd told the man that there was no legal way to terminate the lease without my consent. But the idea that her dad was out there trying to force me out of my apartment, that was a new low. It showed me just how far they were willing to go to try to control my life, even after I'd walked away. The breaking point for me, the moment that really made me see how twisted things had gotten, was when I ran into her mom by chance at a local store. I tried to ignore her, but she walked right up to me with a sneer and said, "You'll never find anyone better than my daughter. She's a catch, and you threw her away like garbage." I didn't argue with her. I just nodded, said, "You're probably right," and walked away. There was no point in fighting with someone who saw the world the way they did. They'd already decided who I was, and nothing I said was going to change that. In the end, walking away was the best decision I ever made. Yeah, it cost me a lot. My reputation took a hit, and I lost some friends who chose to believe her version of the story. But I'm free. I don't have to worry about living up to someone else's impossible standards or being molded into something I'm not. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm back to being myself. No more bending over backward. No more living up to someone else's expectations. No more feeling like I'm a guest in my own life. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that love shouldn't be a transaction. It shouldn't be a constant struggle to prove yourself or live up to someone else's idea of who you should be. It's about finding someone who sees you for who you are and is happy to build a life with you. Not because you fit into their family's mold, but because you fit into their heart. So yeah, I walked away. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.